Good morning, everyone. Opening prayers on page 11. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly excellent, I take refuge till I come to full awakening. By the merit of my deeds like generosity, may I achieve Buddhahood for beings' benefit. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly excellent, take refuge till I come to full awakening. By the merit of my deeds like generosity, may I achieve Buddhahood for beings' benefit. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly excellent, take refuge till I come to full awakening. By the merit of my deeds like generosity, may I achieve Buddhahood for beings' benefit. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness free of suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion to near and far. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness free of suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion to near and far. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness free of suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion to near and far. By prostrating, offering, and confessing thus, by rejoicing, urging, supplicating too, any little virtue that I have amassed, all I dedicate for full awakening. This ground daubed with fragrant water and with flowers strewn is adorned by Meru forelands, by sun and moon. Seeing this to be a Buddha field, I offer it. May all beings experience this utterly pure land. Om Guru Ratna Mandala Buddha Mega Samudra Saparana Samaye Om. As befits the different wishes of sentient beings and their intellects, turn the Dharma wheel of vehicles, great and small and common. Thus we pray.
Good morning, friends. And I pray that all the blessing of my Guru be with us, because blessing is through praying to Guru we receive blessing of our lineage, and which actually helps us to open the natural qualities of our own mind. So I rely in these teachings on my Guru, and you rely in these teachings on our Guru, and may through his blessing we all have good connection and we all help each other in receiving precious instructions. So yesterday we were speaking about methods, how to help to change, to transform our mind, and what is it like when we're speaking about transformation. What is it exactly we are transforming? We are transforming our habitual tendencies. We're speaking about how they appear, why actually do we need to transform them, like how it's working, and like the methods of transformation. And if you tried to create any exercise for yourself, if you did anything, and if you have questions now, or if you will have questions later, please ask. Or if you have some experience that you would like to share with all of us, that would be wonderful at any time. And I just would like to say that doing mind transformation, or like habitual tendencies transformation, is the important part here is awareness. Yeah, and there are different levels of awareness. And when we speak about cultivation of awareness, it's not just like saying I want to cultivate awareness, it's magically appears. It's very important to understand the mechanism of how to cultivate awareness, what awareness, where is it located, and what do we need to do in order to open this quality, to cultivate this quality of our own mind. And as we were speaking yesterday, awareness is a natural quality of our mind. And in order to cultivate it, we just need very we need to use right skillful means. As we're practicing shamatha practice, which is like, I think shamatha practice is very important. Why? Because when we practice it, we learn about machine of our own mind. We actually learn how this mechanism of samsara is created. And when we know how mechanism of samsara is working, we can see how to dissolve it. That's why like we consider practice of shamatha very important. I myself did not really understand how mechanism of samsara is working until I started to practice shamatha. And it was actually a surprise to me how easy it's to see. And when you see it, you can understand what you can see what do you need to do in order to dissolve it. And you basically become your own lama. You open this quality of your own lama. And in terms of instructions, peace instructions, you don't necessarily need to rely on outer lama. But to be able to do it, you really need to understand how mechanism of your mind working, not from teachings, like not from hearing it from someone, but from your own experience. And when we're speaking about texts that describe how samsara arising, how it's capturing us, how it brings us suffering, and what to do, and then it might seem a little bit complicated, like to understand. We study it, we learn it, and even like after we learn it to the details, we might still not able to, we might not be able to dissolve samsara. So in order to dissolve samsara, we need to practice. And when we practice it, we actually see that realizing through practice is much easier than realization through learning through texts. It's easier to understand. So as I was speaking yesterday, when we practice shamatha, the method is to concentrate on object. But concentration on object is not the goal. This is just skillful means. Temporarily. Shamatha is not natural process. Shamatha is created process. It's like exercise in order to help us to release the qualities of our mind, like awareness and clarity. So, but because for so many lifetimes, so for so many years, we have habits not to see our quality of our mind, we use this kind of created, like artificially created states of mind as a temporary means, which help us to see how machine of our mind is working. So when we concentrate on object, and when I speak about shamatha, anything can be object. It can be outer object, it can be our breath, it can be mantra recitation, it can be sit syllable of deity. Whenever we concentrate on any kind of object, that's shamatha. So when we fully concentrate, when we place our gaze and when we fully concentrate on an object, at that moment we bring all our attention to this object. So our attention is not scattered towards unconscious thoughts that arise in our mind. So thoughts like concept will be arising as long as we have this habitual imprints in our mind. It will be arising. So, but as long as we pay attention to it, we feed those habitual tendencies. But as soon as we turn our attention away from those habits, they start to dissolve. So, because nothing which arises is permanent, so if you do not pay attention to it, if you do not feed it, it will dissolve. So there is a beautiful text in Drikung Kagyu called Udana Varga, and it says, the end of gathering is depletion, the end of rising is falling, the end of meeting is parting, the end of living is death. So basically text speaks about impermanence, life impermanence. But it's interesting thing. Whatever we perceive is a reflection of our mind. Whatever arising in this life as outer object, in reality is reflection of our own mind, even if we don't understand it. But what does it mean? The rules of whatever appears in outer world apply to the rules of whatever appears in our mind. Whatever arising in this world is impermanent. Whatever is arising in our mind is impermanent. So this outer world is just reflection. When I speak about life and death, this is just reflection of any concept that arising in our mind. So basically, whatever concept is arising in our mind, it is impermanent. Sooner or later, it will dissolve. When you practice Vipassana or Mahamudra, you can actually see, the awareness can see the concept appears in mind. It's like a wave. The wave appears and it dissolves. The concept appears, emotion appears and dissolves, thought appears and dissolves. As long as we are aware, as long as we're not attached to this emotion, we can actually see how it appears and dissolves. And so then whatever appears in this life, whatever we experience, is just reflection of natural process of manifestation in mind. So if we start to recognize it, we actually can see how really everything that is arising is a reflection of our mind. So, and going back to shamatha practice, when we don't pay attention to concepts that arise as a result of our habitual tendencies, they start to dissolve. And when they dissolve or calm down, whatever is left is clarity. So suddenly our mind become very clear, and as I spoke before yesterday, awareness, which is natural quality of our mind, is suddenly present. That's when we speak about cultivation of awareness. That's a method for cultivation of awareness. Just don't feed your habitual tendencies by concentrating, like you have to bring your attention to the object. Consciously bring your attention to the object, and then habitual tendencies start to calm down. So if we understand that, then when we work in daily life, when we're doing that exercise I was spoken about yesterday, when when we use our daily situations, we start to notice, okay, like I'm using, for example, I'm using this situation when I see street lights to remind myself or to remember about deity, remember about mantras. What's happening at that moment when you remember about deity at this moment, instead of feeding your habitual tendencies, you create new habitual tendency. That's what is transformation. This is exactly moment of transformation of your habitual tendency. Like it's like we might not be aware of that. Like we might not have like strong awareness at that moment. But when you consciously change your like habit or like your thought into something else, and I speak consciously because it's when you do it consciously, like you make decision to do it and you remember, that's already presence of awareness. So that's when we speak about consciously, we bring awareness, like remembering is already a certain level of awareness. So that's when transformation starts to happen. So at that moment when you see that street light and you remember about deity, instead of thinking something else, instead of chasing some unconscious thoughts and emotions, you suddenly think consciously about something else. So this is moment of transformation. So at this moment, your habitual patterns start to dissolve and you create new habitual pattern, which is bringing merit. Yeah, and it was spoken about, like, in order to recognize nature of mind, we need lots of merit. So, and this can happen at any moment of your life, but we need to bring awareness. And there are many different levels of awareness. Garin Pache was talking, I remember in one of his teachings, that we always use awareness. We always have awareness to make any decision, to recognize face of friends, to remember friend's name, to remember your kid's name, is already awareness. It is already a certain level of awareness. To perform any daily activities, to recognize the different colors, this is blue, this is red, is already awareness. So we always practice awareness. So it's when we speak about cultivation of awareness, does not mean that we don't have it, because this is our natural qualities. It will always be present, always in all our lives, just like on a different level. So we will always be looking for awareness, even if we have very strong dualistic state of mind. So basically, I was talking yesterday about Kuntuzanpo prayer, how when there is no recognition of the natural state of mind, and there is the kind of fading away for a moment, and when we wake up, there is dualistic state of mind. There is already ego, which tries to find some belonging for itself, some labeling for itself. But even that ego, that intention to find some belonging is kind of maybe crooked, maybe like not natural way of finding awareness. So ego does not know. Ego also wants to find that awareness. And ego, actually, it's also originating from the nature of mind. Everything is originating from the nature of mind. Just there is no recognition, and that's what's difference. So it means we always have this natural tendency to look for awareness, no matter how it looks, even looking for some emotions, looking for some experience. We are looking for awareness. We just do not recognize it, and because of that, we're just going astray, and it leads to suffering. So awareness is always present, and we're speaking about at the beginning when person takes refuge. We speak about 6 parameters. We speak about precepts. Yeah, precepts. Yeah. So basically, we are learning how to distinguish between good and bad. And that's already cultivation of awareness. And we speak about practicing of 6 parameters. What is that? We know that we need to follow certain rules. And when we follow any kind of rules, we're already using this quality of awareness. We are making it more strong. But that's awareness we already have. So whenever even we have to distinguish between good and bad. But we speak about another level of awareness when we practice shamatha. That quality which is always present, which we don't have to make an effort in order to open this quality of mind, of awareness, which is always present without putting effort into it. So we use practice of shamatha. We're calming down our mind, and that's a skillful mean to recognize awareness which is always present. So at that point, we suddenly notice while we're performing any action, there is always something present, like there's always kind of remembering that is always present there without any effort from our side. It is very similar to what, like, for example, when you have a child, small child, and you always remember about, like, somewhere on the back of your mind, no matter what are you doing, you are always remembering about your child. So this is also quality of awareness. And when you practice awareness, when you're calming down your mind, that's kind of awareness that is always present no matter what are you doing. So that's a little bit different level of awareness. But then when you have this level of awareness, you can look in your mind and you can notice how concept or how, like, emotions arising in your mind. And when we speak about when we are stable in this part of shamatha, we actually, and when we have awareness, we can look, using that awareness, we can look at emotions and concepts that start arising in your mind. So at the beginning, it's very difficult to notice the moment of arising, but we can notice it when already wave is high, when we already have this concept formed or emotion formed, and we are instructed to look at this emotion and look where will it dissolve. That's vipassana part. So, and because we have this awareness part, we are not getting lost in emotion or concept. We are able to look at that concept and look where it dissolved, and it dissolving in the natural mind. That's a skillful mean actually entering the state of natural mind. So when you have concentration strong enough, so you actually can look at the thought and not get mixed with it, not get lost into it. So that's a very easy way to enter state of Mahamudra. And then you actually can see how everything is arising, like how concepts are arising. It's like waves. There is a wave of, like, I don't know how to call it, wave of, we can say like wave of prana or wave of energy, yeah? And on a deeper level, it is not formed into concept yet. So, but when at certain point, when it hits like dualistic level, that's where your karma is starting working. So when you are in a Mahamudra state of mind, you can see those waves of energy which do not form into concept, and you're not getting attached to them. But when we are in dualistic state of mind, so karma is starting work like those imprints starting to work when you're in dualistic state of mind. So basically those waves of prana, they are taking form of certain concepts depending what patterns are imprinted in your mind. So sometimes I give, it's maybe hard to understand, but it's actually very easy. Like sometimes I give example, in my country when we were children, we were playing with sand, in sand boxes, and we had like these special forms, like a mold, yeah. So basically you take a sand that does not have specific form and you put it in a mold and then it has certain form. So that's exactly what's happening when we are losing, when we are in dualistic state of mind. Whatever waves of energy, whatever appearance, like whatever waves of prana, movement of prana is there that does not have form. When we are in dualistic state of mind, that prana takes form of imprints in our mind. And it appears as certain concept or emotions. That's why sometimes we say, I don't know why I have, like I woke up today morning and I have this emotion. I don't know why. Because you did not recognize this, when this prana, which does not have form, or this like field that does not have form, when it hits that level of when you have dualistic perception, so your karma starts working immediately. And so the same prana, so of course the prana starts moving in your certain channels, in certain directions. And so it takes form of certain concepts and emotions and so forth. Is it clear? Yeah. More or less, yeah? So when you practice shamatha, why I'm speaking like about practicing shamatha, and you calm your mind, you have awareness, and like you're using that awareness to look at the concepts and you see where they dissolve, you start to understand how works mechanism of your mind. You start to see it. So that's, we're speaking about practical applications. Like you have experience of seeing how really samsaric mind works, how mind works, how grasping happening, and how samsara is working. When you understand how mechanism of your mind is working, you understand mechanism of any sentient beings, of mind, of any sentient beings, because this machine is of samsara is the same for every sentient beings. So beings might have different emotions, different situations, different karma, but machine, the mechanism is absolutely the same for all types of beings. And when you understand it, you can actually really start helping others to dissolve their habitual tendencies, no matter whether is that person or beings practicing Buddhism or not, but you understand how emotions, how grasping is working, what is triggering grasping, and you start to develop wisdom, like how not to trigger grasping in different beings, depending on their level. And so then you starting giving right advice to right person, or like if you're working with animal or with other sentient beings, you're doing your behavior is right to that sentient beings. And that's also bodhisattva ways of living, because no matter where you are, in what circumstances you are among Buddhists, non-Buddhists, you are still benefiting sentient beings. And like I'm working at the hospital, yeah, and like not all of my coworkers know that I'm practicing Buddhism. And like I'm working like sometimes with patients who are in coma, yeah, and you can, sometimes they wake up, and sometimes it's gradually waking up, and you actually see how how like recognition is coming back, and you can see how you can understand how their mind is working and what you can do to lessen their suffering. Like, it's not necessary that you give them Dharma teachings, no, but you're behaving in such a way that you are actually helping to lessen their suffering. You are bringing them comfort, and it's different for every sentient beings. You might perform different actions to help different beings. You know, you don't have to preach, you know, about Buddhism. And that's what I'm talking about, that why I stress on practicing shamatha, because this is a method which helps to understand machine of grasping and creating samsara. Of course, if we have very good karma and very good connection to such lamas as Gar Rinpoche, that we might experience state Mahamudra in his presence. That's very precious experience. Yeah, when we can experience that state, it's very precious. But it's not necessarily give you understanding of an entire pattern, how grasping is happening. That's what happened to me. So I had this confusion because at the beginning you experience this natural state of mind, and you know this is right practice. But then you go away and this state of mind disappears, and you don't know what to do to bring it back. So sometimes you pray with devotion to your guru and it comes back. But you don't understand what exactly you need to do with your own mind. Yeah, you do really the different practices, you do guru yoga, and you might experience this state of mind again and again, spontaneously, and that's wonderful. But it's not necessarily that you understand all the stages. But practice of shamatha, when you concentrate on an object and you see when your mind calms down and you see where your awareness originates, you're convinced that awareness, that's your natural quality of your mind. You see it is always present in you, and you get this confidence in yourself, because you know this does not necessarily depend on the presence of other lama. This is in you, and you know, okay, if I calm down my mind, and this is a method, concentration is a method to calm down your mind, and you have this quality of clarity and awareness, and you continue working in this way until your awareness becomes stronger. So then basically you use that awareness to look at the concept that arise in your mind. So in some traditions, teachers advise to practice shamatha until it's reach perfection, until you can stay in the state for many days, many weeks, many months without interruption. And it's actually very big. It's a very big thing when you can do it, but it may take very long time. In our tradition, as I understand, it's of course very good if you bring it to perfection, but if you are able to calm your mind and practice awareness until you get some stability, which is enough so you can look at the concept which arising in your mind, and then you use it to enter the state of Mahamudra. That's what I actually did. I never reached perfection in practice of shamatha. I never. So, but I reached some stability where I could use my awareness to look at the concept that are present in my mind, and to look at it until this concept disappears, and be in that state where it disappears, because it disappears in the nature of mind. And then when you're in this state, you actually can see how it appears, how these waves appear and disappear. It's arising, and you see this notion of grasping. You want to grasp. This is also our habitual tendency. we want to have grasping. Sometimes our mind is very clear and calm, but we still have this feeling of discomfort. We want this movement, we want this grasping. So this is also our habitual tendency, and it will disappear with time. So there are different levels of habitual tendencies, more gross and more like subtle. And when I'm speaking about this wish to grasp, this is more subtle level. And for this, when we are in the state of Mahamudra, and so this state of Mahamudra, it will appear spontaneously when we have when our mind is calm and when we are able to look at the concept. So you will come to it. There is no doubt, because it's your natural state. As long as you follow precise instruction precisely, you don't need lots of time to come to the state on your own. You know, you don't need lots of time. You just have to be disciplined enough to follow instructions and to practice it again and again and again. If you remember, like if you take any practice, it's very important to understand what is the goal of that practice. So the goal of that practice is not necessarily to practice it for the rest of your life. For example, if we take Vajrakilaya practice, we come, it's really cool practice, it's very powerful practice, yeah. We come with the hope it will purify our karma and so forth, and it will. But we also understand that all of this, all those parts of practice have some meaning. And when we recite mantra, we concentrate on 6 syllables. If our mind is not stable, that's our shamatha practice. Plus, because it's Yidam deity practice, it has Yidam blessing. So there is emotional charge in it. And because there is this emotional charge of devotion, so it's much more, it's faster. We can have this realization much more faster. But no matter what kind of practice we are doing, whenever we concentrate, whenever we place our attention on object, no matter what object it is, that's shamatha practice. But with Yidam practice, it's a little different than with regular shamatha practice. Because there is blessing of deity, through just concentrating on a 6 syllable and on mantra, we actually can jump into the natural state. So this purification, we cut through concepts, we cut through samsaric mind, and this is a skillful means to jump into the natural state of mind very fast. But to understand how samsaric mind is working, how grasping is working, it's very important to practice shamatha. I'm talking about shamatha in these depths because it's when we're speaking about habitual tendencies. So this is skillful means to see how habitual tendencies are formed and how they're supported again and again for as long as we don't have awareness. And when we speak about transformation, that's what I spoke, like consciously changing our thoughts to from non-beneficial to beneficial. That's already transformation. And there are different levels of transformation when we speak in dualistic about dualistic view. So in dualistic perception, we change negative thoughts into positive. And then when we have enough merit, we are actually able to transform them into the natural state. Any questions?
I thought maybe I'd start by sharing experience, not a profound experience, but very important. I think what you speak of is one has some experience, it strengthens confidence and faith. And also you can read all the texts and everything, and if you really have this really intense, if your mind works that way, you too can have faith. because my goodness, this is not just something that, some therapist thought up 10 years ago, 2,600 years. But I wanted to share something just to, hopefully this would, again, I don't share it with anyone but Vajra brothers and sisters, but nonetheless. So, Gretchen and I had practiced at a Western Buddhist center for, maybe some 15 or 16 years. And you can get a kind of false kind of confidence, arrogance. My mind seems very stable. And for some reason, I went to a Yamantaka retreat with Gar Rinpoche in Arizona. And I made the mistake of forgetting my cushions. So I got there, I borrowed some cushions. I had the wrong kind of cushions to sit on. So as people know, this is like 7 or 9 days, 24/7. You sleep where you meditate. You only get up to go to the bathroom and to eat. So I had the wrong cushions. And so, first of all, my complete arrogance that I had a completely stable mind and was an experienced meditator completely went into the toilet. I was in agony, like 1 hour into this thing, and right away you're calculating mind. Oh no, I got 9 days of this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I was sitting next to a man who was Tibetan, 76 years old. He had helped Gar Rinpoche with money when he first came out of the camp. He was doing his first meditation retreat. And here's experienced Frank, full of himself, in a puddle on the mat next to this man who's doing it for the first time, Tibetan, but he obviously had big faith. So I'm in agony. I'm having hallucinations for the first time in my life. I'm having hallucinations of waterfalls of milk coming down and like bathing me and giving me some sort of relief from this pain. And at that point, Gar Rinpoche was a little special. He was sitting 2 seats down from me. For some reason, they put me up in the same. Never sat there again, but it's sort of 2 seats down from him. And they give him tea, of course, and he has a little pitcher of milk that he can do his stuff. So Garchen Rinpoche passed down the pitcher of milk to me. He gave it to the Tibetan guy who gave it to me. I'm having hallucinations of waterfalls of milk to satisfy my pain. And he gives me a pitcher of milk, and I'm there pouring milk for myself. All right, well, this went on for 9 days. I never had any relief. I was in total agony the whole time. And thoughts, you talked about the grasping. We're trying to get happiness through grasping. Mm-hmm. I had more thoughts than you can imagine. And of course, this is the guy who's beyond thought at this point, right? Unbelievable suffering. And I'm just thinking, I'm never doing this again. I'm just a total failure. I can't do this. They cover the window so you can't see outside for a week. And on the last morning, we were doing, started the refuge prayer. And they opened up on the last morning the shades. And this beautiful Arizona sunset. People who have been there know it's just like, a pure land. And, I realized that I was just absolutely home. And that this is what my path was. And even that I had no choosing or no idea or no manipulation. I mean, I've got a very strong, active mind, and it's always manipulating. And suddenly, through Gar Rinpoche's, my interaction with him, why am I doing Yamantaka? I realized it was all exactly what I needed to be doing. So that's not really something profound. But what strikes me is the unbelievable, misunderstood, not understood skillfulness of these methods. Passing the milk down gave me the necessary confidence that somehow I was going to get through this no matter what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And I just always felt his understanding. He knew you were suffering. He knew what you were doing. And without giving some sort of false kind of, slap on the back bravado like a politician or something, it was sincere. It was like he was my mind. So I just wanted to share that because, we struggle to try to transmit and to describe these teachings, and it's just so helpful to have, the voice of experience there. The teachings and the practice are both there, depending on how your mind works, both together. But it's just the necessary confidence despite yourself to keep going. Something in there. You wouldn't be here except that confidence has been touched by you. So anyway.
Thank you for sharing. This is actually a wonderful experience, and I think here we speak like when we come to practice, we have an expectation. We want this pleasure from practice. Yeah, I'm going to Yamantaka. I already like experienced Yamantaka, being in bliss, and I'm expecting it again. And here, like your karma is ripening. It's also maybe like not even about discomfort. It's like your karma was ripening. You would find anything else. If you would have cushion, beautiful cushion, you would find something else. If it would like was time for your ripening of your karma, you would find anything else to suffer from, you know, like believe me. And we all went through this. Like when we have intense practices, we like have intense karma ripening, and it's like everything outside is it's beautiful, everything is good, your presence of guru, but like you suffer it intensely, and then it's also his quality, you know, like to give you intense suffering so you can have intense release. You know. I have lots of this experience, honestly. Like no matter how much experience and practice you have, you come to Rinpoche and like, okay, I know how to practice Mahamudra, and here you are in total hell, you know, like nothing works, you know. Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing that. And also, like, I have also like many stories like that about myself. And I remember when I went to my first 100-day retreat, everything was so beautiful, and Rinpoche offered me his hut to practice
his hut,
in. Yeah, and Raga Rinpoche gave me instructions, and I had many experiences of natural state of mind from presence of God Rinpoche. And like I had this pride, you know, like I know how to practice, I know what Mahamudra is. And then I'm going into that retreat, and oops, I don't know how to. I'm trying to recollect the state of Mahamudra, and that's what I was talking about, because I did not know how mechanism of mind, of grasping mind is working. I've been so grasped. I was planning that for 100 days I will be practicing Mahamudra, and then I'm reaching enlightenment or whatever, and like, you know, totally absolutely illusionary imagination of what retreat is, you know, what level of practice I have, and I'm practicing like that for 1 month, like trying to jump into the state of Mahamudra, sometimes with success, and I have good feeling. And I have good feeling. I'm thinking I'm doing everything right, and I'm going, after 1 month, I'm going to Traga Rinpoche. And he knocks me down completely, like, what are you doing? What are you, like, you're just, like, what have you been doing for entire months? You know, like, it's like you totally, it's not what you're supposed to do, you know? And I'm suffering, like the worst suffering in my life, because I was thinking that I'm such a good practitioner, you know, and here, like, it's like I'm zero.
Yeah.
And hear it from my retreat master. And like here I'm in this beautiful place in Garinpoche's hut, and like to know that actually I wasted for like whole months of my retreat, and like I'm totally crushed, you know, like I cannot sleep, I cannot eat, and I suffer, like my pride, you know, completely crushed, you know, my ego, because apparently I don't know how to meditate. You know, so, and like, and okay, so I'm crying, I'm not sleeping, and then, okay, so I'm starting it from the beginning. So I ended up staying 4 months. So I'm starting my 100 days again from the very zero, because so, and I'm taking Patrul Rinpoche book, and I'm trying to do it, and like apparently I see that I don't know how to concentrate. I don't know how to concentrate, and so I'm using this contemplation, like it's so difficult for me concentrate. Honestly, I can tell you. I was like I had blood on my palms because I was like pressing my nails, and because like everything I was like a rogue. I couldn't like it was so difficult to keep my attention on an object. It was so difficult. Like first 2 months of that retreat was the biggest suffering of my life, I can tell you, because it was so difficult to learn how to concentrate. After 2 months approximately, like, okay, maybe a little bit less, but after 2 months I was confident, so my mind is clear, and suddenly I recognize that awareness is my natural quality. That's when everything went nice, you know. So I understood how it works. I understood what do I need to do in order to calm my mind down. And so, but I did not even know that I was practicing shamatha, because I was contemplating on Patrul Rinpoche teachings. So I would take one sentence and I would contemplate each word, like for many hours. I could contemplate one sentence for few days, going back and forth, like, and like not allowing myself, like my attention to move away from that word. It was like feeling like you're pulling rope again. It's pulling you away, and you're pulling rope again, back again and again and again. So, and I can tell you, it was really big experience, but it happened after I learned that I don't have any experience. After I accept that I have this fault of like illusory, like, or like a fault of perceiving myself as a good practitioner where I'm not. So, and it's later, it's actually, it doesn't matter like whether you're a good practitioner or not, because it's the only thing, it's only concept.
Yeah.
You know, it's all in relation. You're a good practitioner in relation to someone, and you're not good practitioner to relation to someone. That's why we say never judge your practice or other person practice. Never compare. We all have Buddha nature, so we all have our own karma. And as long as we are following instructions of Buddha, as long as we are following teachings, we will be there. You will be there 1 week later. That's okay. You know, I remember like in 3-year retreat, when we started 3-year retreat, like all wonderful people, but there was at the beginning notion of like who is going faster, who will finish that recitation faster. Like, and sometimes person would write note, I already done those recitations. And like, you know, this competition, you know, it might be good at the beginning because it keeps you, like, it keeps your attention on practice. But then you, like, later you understand. I remember one person from our retreat told, like, at some point I understood you just have to do it. It's not about numbers. You just have to do it right. And when you are doing this right, it doesn't matter who is first, who is second, and everybody will be there, you know. And we lived so many lives already, and Buddha also, he lived so many lives before he reached enlightenment. And at some point in many lives ago, we might met with Buddha, you know, when he was not enlightened. And so Buddha reached enlightenment, we reach enlightenment now, or like this lifetime, in 1 month in Bordeaux or so forth. And then to Buddha it doesn't matter, and to us it doesn't matter, because we both reach enlightenment at some point. So our point is like not to compare ourselves with each other, but just like be honest that you are doing whatever you can do, that you are practicing in full strength, that you actually understand instructions. It's very important to understand instructions. And then you are working with instructions. You know, you're working with your own mind, and you use all these life situations in order to purify your patterns of grasping. And then we all here help each other, you know, and that's what Sangha for. So don't feel how to say inferior towards someone who like done retreat or like has shrine in their home and you don't, like their shrine is better and your shrine is not. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end, it will not matter, you know. So just what is matter to be honest with ourselves, whether I'm doing this right. Be sincere, you know. Questions? But thank you so much. That was so precious. Like, and we all, many of us have the same experience. I'm sure. And about confidence, yeah. If like you're failing not when you are, how is this, like the most important, just keep going, yeah. Never give up. Sometimes sometimes we feel like we cannot perform this practice, or we cannot perform this practice on the same level as we did like 1 week ago. It doesn't matter. It's just keep going to whatever level of practice you can perform. Like just examine your mind, and so you keep this thread, you know, like, and no matter, maybe sometimes it looks like very tiny, very tiny, almost illusory, but it's still there. And as when we take refuge, we make this strong imprint in our mind. When we take Lama like Garim Rinpoche as our root Lama, which is like making immensely strong imprint in our life, it will continue. It will not disappear. It will continue. And like about confidence, every small like action, like when you choose Dharma in whatever you do, it makes you more confident. I remember, like, also in my first retreat, I remember one session I was sitting, and Draga Rinpoche told me, like, when you're in session, the most important, you don't move. Like, you can move your legs, of course, like if you feel pain, but like you don't move your gaze. You don't look anywhere. Like your gaze is always you're gazing at the object, or like you don't move your gaze. And I remember, and for me it was so important, like, to follow these instructions. I remember one time I'm beginning my session, and another thing he told, like, when you choose your schedule, don't be late even for 1 minute, because outer conditions, like how you follow the rule on outer level, will affect your mind. And that's what I noticed. That's true. Like when I was not late even for 1 minute throughout entire retreat. And I noted when I started to see how my mind is working, your outer discipline really affects your ability to see grasping and not to grasp. Somehow ability to keep discipline on outer level affected my ability not, like, have the strength not to grasp when you see. It's very interesting, you know. So, and I remember I was sitting in one session, and I just started my session, and here I was sitting on Garim Rinpoche's bed, and it was like little bit above the floor, like maybe half, like few inches, you know. And I hear behind my back something big is crawling. And I see like, and it's like going back and forth, and like, oh gosh, this is snake, and I'm terrified.
Oh.
I'm really terrified. And like, no, but I cannot move. I cannot jump. And like entire session, like maybe like 3/4 of session, I've been thinking about that animal, but I did not move. Because for me it was like really, I promised Draga Rinpoche I'm not going to move. And like, but I was so terrified. I thought I am going to faint, you know. But then at the end, I got used, you know, I got habitual tendency not to move. And like suddenly, like at some point I was able to concentrate on my, on the topic of, and so by the end of the session, like I was fine. My mind was calm. I was totally fine. I was happy. And that thing just calmed down. Wherever it was, whatever it was, just calmed down. And you know, by the end of session, I was so happy. Of course, most of session I could not concentrate. I had so much confidence in myself that I was able to do it. It's like it was so precious, such a precious experience. And of course, I stood up. Like I found that this was a huge centipede.
Oh.
This is orange ones, you know. In Arizona, it's like huge one with very strange face and eyes, and you know. I found it later. It was sleeping somewhere, and I took it out, you know. But you know, like to me, that was such a big experience, you know, in confidence. That's like when you take small vow, you know, even for one day, and you keep it, and you dedicate at the end, you get this confidence in practice. And this confidence in practice helps you when you are able to help you with awareness, help you with non-grasping. It's actually makes huge effect on your practice, on your mind practice. That's why we speak about outer discipline too. And that's why like Karen Rinpoche sometimes encourage, like if you can take vow for 1 week, any vow, you know, that maybe vow that is easy to keep, very easy to keep. So requires very easy effort. If you take it for the benefit of others, and then like after a week you dedicate it, and that's how you also build your confidence and merit. Any questions? Yeah.
How long were your sessions? Oh, sorry.
The mic.
I'm not going to be. I won't be as. I guess
You're good.
okay. I won't be as wordy as yesterday. How long were your sessions?
If we speak about my very, very first retreat, Drikung Rinpoche told me that it's very important to not to make too long sessions. So he said maximum 2 hours,
Okay.
like 4 sessions a day, 2 hours. Like I thought I can practice for more time, but he said no. I want you to do 2 hours. It shouldn't be too difficult, but then like later when you build like more confidence, you can increase, you know. By the end of the retreat, I would have sometimes 3-hour session, sometimes 2-hour session. But what I found like this, and Drikung Rinpoche told me you can create your own schedule. So it's comfortable to you. So if you want your first session at 5 o'clock or at 6 o'clock, so it's up to you, but as long as you keep up with schedule. And then I found that those long breaks, I thought, okay, there's going to be break 2 hours, or my lunch break is going to be 3 hours. What am I going to do? And he said, do whatever you want. That's unusual for retreat. Do whatever you want. Like you can read, you can write, you can take a walk, and do whatever you want. And of course, like you're doing your very first retreat, you expect like instruction, like sit 20 hours, not moving, you don't eat, you drink like once a week, and so forth. You know, like you expect something like that. But that's at least like I thought like conditions will be like very harsh. But no, like you have to do it in such a way that you feel comfortable, you know. And actually found it's very fortunate that because in Arizona you could there are so many beautiful places you could walk, and like I would take long walks like for half an hour, for 1 hour, and that's when I started to build my practice outside of sessions. So because you have this experience, you know, your mind is calm, and then you want to bring it outside of your session. Sometimes it lasts, sometimes it does not last. So then you want to create some skillful means, to make some exercises so that you can remember. So then you were counting breaths, you were counting trees, you know, like doing this visualization I was talking about, like I am keeping awareness from one tree to another tree, and so like that's that. And then because I didn't have like daily life distractions, you know, I could keep during my breaks. I only cook my meals and eat, and there was nothing else to do. And so I use all this time for exercises, for walking exercises. And
Amazing.
yeah, I'm talking about one. Yeah, I speak. No, I told this was my very first retreat. This was my very, very first retreat, 100-day retreat. I'm talking about that one. But if we speak about like my second 100-day retreat was already a little bit different, and sessions were different. And 3-year retreat is completely different story. Yeah, it was not like that. I'm just talking about when we speak about first retreats. So that was my experience. Yeah.
Okay, so Lamala, when you're during these 2-hour sessions or the 3-hour sessions you were doing, your gaze is never to, your eyes are never to leave the object, but you're allowed to move your lower body.
So the thing is, it's like not that because I was using my 100-day retreat was about contemplation, Patrul Rinpoche, for thoughts that turn mind to Dharma. Yeah, so I had this book, of course, so I could, which I would read for sentence, and I would contemplate that sentence entire session. Yeah, so yes, gaze. You don't move your gaze, but you have to make sure that you're comfortable. You're not. If you're in pain, you're thinking that you're in pain. You cannot really concentrate. So you have to be able that you're sitting very comfortably, So that's why, like, you can move your lower body. Yeah. The important thing is that you keep your spine very straight, and you don't move your gaze, because when you move your gaze, the prana also moves, And so that's, if we want complete stillness, if we want to help. To calm prana in our channels, or like prana not to move, chaotically. So then it's not to move your gaze is very helpful. But we are not creating any effort, We're not putting any effort on your eyes, It's just like gazing outside. But then when you actually start working with mind, it's like you're gazing inside. So your eyes look on outside, but your gaze, like you're like really you gazing inside. You're looking into your mind. And even when you're doing shamatha, at the beginning, like your eyes, like with your eyes, you're looking on the outer object. But this is just skillful means, with time, when you progress in shamatha practice, like your eyes, you continue looking at the outer object, but your gaze turning inside. You're looking inside at the process of your mind.
Wow. And the gaze and being it's controlling, where you're looking is controlling which channel the prana is going into. Is that correct? Or
no. I mean, like you don't try to control like where your prana is, but it is like a movement of prana can be connected to movement of your eyes. So, and if we do like a shamatha practice or any type of practice, it's good to not to look around, because it involves movement of like uncontrolled movement of prana, and when prana moves, it triggers certain certain habitual tendencies, because prana has habitual tendency to move to certain channels, to certain direction, and when prana moves to that direction, we have tendency to give rise to certain thoughts and emotions.
Thank you. I'm very grateful.
Any other questions?
So in the shamatha practice, when you're using the breath as your object of concentration, Can you maybe guide what's helped you as far as method? Because I find the breath can be rather subtle, and yet I like to use the breath because that's something I can come back to during the day versus, an image or something like that. I've worked with like counting the breaths, like counting to 10 and then repeating it over and over again. But are there methods you found to be helpful for focus with the breath in shamatha?
So yeah, there are like so many different exercises with breath. Yeah, I did little bit shamatha, which is concentrating on breath. So I did it on counting until 21 and then back. So I found that this concept of counting, this is skillful means to keep your attention on breath. Yeah, because like real shamatha, when you actually can concentrate on breath without counting. So you can follow breath and you do not lose your attention, you don't lose your concentration. But at the beginning, like for example, if a concentration is not very strong, so counting is a skillful means which keep you connected to this process, which helps you not to forget. And so there are like also like a shamatha practice when you concentrate on how breath is entering or exiting, or like you follow your breath. So I did all types, but what I found was most powerful to me. And another thing about shamatha with breath, maybe because breath is connected to prana and to channels. For me personally, I found practicing shamatha with breathing brings me directly to the natural state of mind without going through the stage, like when you actually start to notice awareness. So it would bring you directly to non-dual state. So that's why for me this exercise was good in order to enter natural state of mind, but it's not really, for me, did not serve the purpose of shamatha, when you go through the stages. The one exercise I actually found very helpful. I combined this practice with breath, with counting breath, with Omahum practice. So especially when I teach in Ukraine with Ukrainian Sangha, so we were combining this with so we do visualization, yeah, of red dots in your navel or under navel, or red flame. And basically, so we were using counting of breath, and we were visualizing like numbers 1, 2, 3. This is just skillful means not to forget. So, but I said like no matter what exercise do you choose, the first stage is not to forget. I don't know what is your level of shamatha and what exact exercise of shamatha with breath are you doing. But I found it's very profound, and in order not to forget, we're counting it, or we're doing visualization like red dot, like bringing this breathing process into dot there. And like you can even later you can concentrate on this red ball, and concentrate how you're breathing, like how you breathe into this red ball, and forget about breathing like air coming or leaving the body. Just with every breath, concentrate on this red ball, and it's actually waking up your channels in your subtle body. So even if you don't really visualize it, your channels. So that's what Garinpoche says, that this exact exercise is waking. It's like resembling to more practicing. And why it's very important, because it's at the navel place, and it wakes up channels, and actually start bringing prana into the central channel. And when this happening, you may experience natural state of mind anytime. But I don't know if it's answered your question regarding shamatha and breath.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel that's helpful to focus it because I had some teachings that we did online that were on the 16 breaths and that sutra of the 16 breaths, and I was trying to work with that of when I'm breathing in short, I know that I'm breathing in short. When I'm breathing in long, I'm breathing in long. But I find that sometimes can be too many things. Then my mind starts thinking of, is it short, is it long? And then, and so I'm trying to go back more to the count just to get it more focused because I'm feeling I'm not having the concentration that I need. Maybe that's a higher level or something. Is there a significance to the 21? Because I remember Tenzin from Garchin's Institute also said 21 breaths.
No, it's just instructions I heard,
Okay,
and that's why I did it. I don't think any significance. And how I did it, like I tried to count until 21, but as soon as I lose my attention, and my mind is driven away, then when I come back, I again start counting from 1. And I can tell you, like my first sessions, I barely counted until 10. So it's like we're being like honest about level of concentration. So like, nobody is born with like very strong diamond like concentration. So we'll go through training, and I would sit like for entire session. I would count until some numbers that I would lose my concentration. I would bring my attention back and I would count again. And like so at some point like I was doing 10 counting, and I would consider it as a one cycle. But at the beginning, if throughout entire session, if I do like 1 or 2 cycles of 10, that's what a big thing for me because So I think like we're speaking about numbers in different traditions. There are different numbers; they symbolize different things, but. I think the most important that you keep your attention for entire cycle, and what you were talking about, like concentrate on different part of body. When you're breathing, this is also skillful means which help you not to lose concentration, not to forget. But when you're actually able to remember about process, that starts to bother you. It's like I'm having too many concepts. So then you can drop it, and like you can concentrate just on a breathing process, and that's a shamatha when your mind starts to calm down and you start experience awareness. But at the beginning, we might need lots of concepts, which we use consciously. So we don't forget about what we're actually doing.
One last. Can you combine then the counting with just so you can be counting and visualizing this red ball at the same time, right?
Yes.
So, and then that's having the greater power because you're trying to strengthen this energy from
yes,
into your
yes,
central channel.
yes.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So one time I was doing a retreat, a 1-day silent retreat, and we were all sitting for a while, and maybe an hour into it, I hear this tiny noise. It sounds like a little beep, and I look around, everyone else is so still and so peaceful, and I think, well, what's going on with me? I have this tiny noise. It's driving me crazy. I can't think. I feel it's disrupted my emotions so much. And I go out of the shrine room and I go outside. I'm following the noise, and there's like a rubbish heap outside of an apartment where someone had it looked like they had been kicked out of their apartment, all of the belongings, and I hear the beep. And I'm in my nice clothes, but I'm getting like more and more worked up. I actually start diving into the trash and all the banana peels. And I find this like alarm clock that someone had thrown away, and it was like going off. And so and I smash it or take the battery, I don't know what I did, and I go back in, and I'm trying to be all calm again, and everyone's still. And I find myself wondering, like, either they all need hearing aids or they're really good practitioners. and that I just needed it to be silent. I needed it to be perfect. And now I have 2 kids and the fine, even having 1 hour of silence, it seems inconceivable. So I often find myself thinking, I can't even connect with shamatha. I have to wait until some perfect moment where I'm alone, and which clearly never happens. So I guess my question would be, if you're in an environment of like constant interruption, and noise and obligations, and what would be a recommendation for like a practice that even begins to approximate shamatha, whatever tiny thing that I would be capable of doing? Because I find sometimes I say mantra, I'm driving with the kids, then I get lost, right? It's like I've gone off into whole other, suburb, like by thinking that I'm being aware on my mantra, who got lost completely. It happens frequently. So I just trying to find something, that thread, right? Because I feel like I'm now these days on that tiny imperceptible thread you were describing of trying to cultivate some focus and awareness. But what could you recommend in that chaotic environment?
Okay, so first I can say that, there are different schools and different methods. When we speak about shamatha, we are speaking about creating environment which is not actually completely natural, environment where we are not where we can be not distracted, so we can find this stillness inside. But when it's impossible, so this is kind of artificial setup to help us to calm down our mind and to see how our mind is working. But when, for example, when we're speaking about yogi life, yogi life and yogi practice in daily life. So yogi is one who can recognize their natural mind, or who is cultivating awareness in any situation. That's a real yogi. So, and you have to take whatever you experience in your life as your own path. So, which means whatever is present constantly in your life, you can take it as object of concentration. And here you can experiment. Like we were talking yesterday about choosing like 1 or 2 daily activities which you perform every day, and take it as a practice. Like, for example, we were talking about this driving, when you drive from one street light to another street light, and for example, like you, when you cross the intersection and you just make this statement for yourself, or like the intention, like, until I reach next street light, I don't forget. I don't forget. It's not about what you concentrate on. It's about how you cultivate not forgetfulness and ability to actually stay with the object. And when you reach the next street light, so you kind of, okay, I reached it. Or you can visualize, like Gretchen was talking yesterday, like red light is Amitabha, green light is Tara, and like I see the face of Tara in that green light, and yellow light is Manjushra, or you can even say one mantra. So this is, this is just example how not to forget. If you have lots of activities with kids, or like you can take like small activity which takes like not more than 15 minutes. You're cooking, for example, or you're cleaning. You take this activity which takes 15 minutes, which you perform every day, and you decide, you contemplate first, like, okay, I'm breaking this activity into very, very tiny parts so I don't forget. And for example, like if you are cooking, for example, like when you take, like when you perform every part, like you're peeling potatoes, like every potato you peel, you use skillful means not to forget. Like for example, you take one potato, you visualize Tara in that potato. So while you're peeling, you visualize that you're creating like rainbow light around, or whatever works, that you don't forget. So, and from one potato to another potato, you don't forget. So, and in entire course of peeling potato, you keep your attention. That's your training in shamatha. You know, and but it's very important, like, because training in shamatha is training in concentration, and then next time when you have opportunity to sit for one day practicing shamatha on object, you can notice, oh, I can actually, there is beeping sound. Actually, it doesn't matter me anymore, because what happened there, like there is beeping sound, and because you don't have this level of concentration, of course you have different level of concentration, because you're able to remember about your kids all the time, you know, like you're performing daily activities which require good level of concentration. But when we speak about stillness of mind, so what happens, because you don't have this experience, whatever appears in mind grasp your attention, and you cannot avoid not thinking about that. And that's example of grasping. That's what always happening. Like whatever appears in your mind, you start thinking about this, or like you are keeping that emotion, and you cannot get rid of that emotion. And that's example of grasping. You know, actually, what you had, was wonderful experience, because you had experience how your attention is drawn, you know, towards what is appearing, and how you don't have control over it. And this wonderful experience, because you're starting to look how working machine of your samsara, you know. But then you choose one small action that you perform every day, and before you actually starting doing, spend few minutes contemplating how exactly I'm going to break this action in small pieces, action that repeats itself, you know. And what I'm going to do, it doesn't matter what you visualize, it doesn't matter what mantra you say, but this is your practice in strength, in making your concentration strong. When your concentration strong, then you will be able to use that skill in order like fully bring your attention to the object, and then your mind becomes calm, and then this aspect of awareness becomes strong, and then you will be able to use that aspect of awareness to keep you concentrated on object, and not to allow you to grasp for whatever appears in your mind.
So, so you would suggest that what's really important is that intention to maintain consciously on whatever you've chosen, not so much that one visualization or word or is
Yes,
less important
but, yeah.
than kind of intentionally, and the breaking it up is more to just be able to achieve it and have that confidence of having been able to achieve it, or is that just because it's more practical?
It's practical. You're training in concentration in this way, and also you're training in concentration, and you are, for example, if you're performing some actions and you're like not controlling your mind, you might think about anything. So you're strengthening your habitual tendencies, which are not necessarily be favorably, which not necessarily creates like good karma. In this way, you're kind of killing two
Birds with one
birds.
stone.
Yeah. So you're gaining strength in concentration, which will help in long run, will help you to release or like to open this quality of your mind, which is awareness. And you are not feeding your patterns, you are not creating additional karma. It is, we can say that this is purification of karma, because you are not feeding your karmic patterns, but choose the activity where nobody can distract you. Maybe it's taking shower. Maybe it's walking with your pet, you know, maybe it's like working in the garden. So 15 minutes, but it should be every day or at least like twice a day. You can choose, and you have to contemplate before actually performing that activity. You have to contemplate how exactly you are going to do it. And of course you can use your imagination, like if you seek, and you can improve the skillful means in this activity, you improve it.
Okay. Thank you.
If you like you can have like your diary, for example, like maybe like you can write few words like today, like I use this skillful means and it worked, use that, and it's actually that's how you can look at your progress. Or like what I was doing also before I was talking, like I was recording the bell sound, which would sound every 2 minutes. So if I forget what I'm doing, like when I hear that sound, it brings my attention back.
You had that playing during your day?
Yeah, not during my day, but during some activities, for example, like, yeah.
Wow.
Any other questions? So when you actually, to add, when you do this activity, it does not necessarily calms your mind right away, like in shamatha practice it's supposed to be, but it makes your concentration strong. And because you are not feeding your habits, it will eventually make you, like you will feel eventually like your mind becomes clear. And in that clarity, you will see awareness, which is present there naturally.
So I did, can you hear me? So I did try last night to, when I was walking my dog, who's a little chihuahua, he tends to be a little distracted, just like me. I tried to go from tree to tree, like you said, and I did White Tara mantra from tree to tree. And I was doing pretty good, tree to tree to tree. And then everybody got distracted by the dog across the street. I got distracted, the dog got distracted, and it blew it. I mean, I just blew it. So I got back to the next tree, and I was better. But it was rough. So, you know, like, it just, all of a sudden there was just this commotion that kind of took my focus away from the next tree and my mantra. And I'm thinking that I just need to not be distracted by that other dog across the street. But somehow I find that a little difficult because I'm having to kind of pull the dog back, and then it just messed up my attention. So
Yeah. So like it's hard when you perform activity. The good thing that later you remembered about this exercise, yeah, it's like already like you have level of concentration which like you did not forget completely. And like even like when we do shamatha practice, we have object in front of us and we still have tendency to forget, you know. But when we do activity, it might be a little bit harder, yeah. But then, of course, sometimes we perform activity which involves other people or other beings, and you cannot ignore them. You know, like I'm walking my dog, but I don't pay attention to my dog because I'm counting like mantras or counting trees. So you can actually, like when you see another dog, like you can visualize Tara on the head of that dog. So it will be like skillful means to keep some level of attention. So you're paying attention to the dog. You are with dog, like you know, but like you're bringing Tara from the tree into like dog, you know, and then you bring it back to. This is just skillful means to keep this thread of attention. You can do whatever you want in terms of visualization. Like as long, when I say whatever you want, I mean like as long as you understand the goal. The goal right now, not to forget. Whatever helps you not to forget. So you keep this thread of Tara, which comes from one tree to another tree. Okay, it makes some detour, like, you know, like, but it's still, attention is still there Because point is not to forget about trees, but point is not to forget about your attention. So like keep your attention. So and then actually when you have strong awareness, this thread which you keep all the time is like not the object, but is your awareness. Right now we're using objects as a skillful means to calm our mind and to strengthen our awareness. But then where your awareness is very strong, this is the main strength, and you just move it from one object to another, but the thread of awareness stays. So but now we are using the outer objects, but we have to understand the goal is like to keep the strength thread of attention, which later will turn into thread of awareness.
Yeah, we have one from Zoom here. I often feel that more deeper understanding achieved during meditative practice comes paired with a frustration at my inability to illustrate or explain that understanding to others, particularly those loved ones who are suffering. Can you have any advice for that?
Yeah, that's also difficult. Yeah, because we live in a human world, and we not everybody accept Buddhist teachings. Not everybody. Some people might not able to distinguish between good and bad. They take wrong paths or like make wrong decisions. So in when we speak about bodhisattva path, so bodhisattva's actions are about help others beings, but also the most important thing is to help them to change their patterns. Yeah, so to help them to recognize what creates suffering, or help them to change pattern of behavior, so they don't create causes of suffering, but they create causes of happiness. So, and it's tough one, because sometimes we feel like we are lacking wisdom, or like we're lacking this ability to explain, or like person has very strong pattern and does not want to abandon it. So, and here it's like, first of all, we have to look at our own reaction. Like we see somebody like doing wrong thing, and we say like, I have this frustration, and our frustration is our own reaction. So we have to be able to recognize our frustrations. This is our fault, because frustration is a negative emotion. It's like it's negative emotion, and it makes us weak. But second, we need actually to understand how our own mind is working. If we are understanding our own mind, we understand how mind of our loved ones working, and then we understand their karma. So, and it's actually takes it might take long time and lots of effort to help others to change their behavior. It does not happen like that. Even like I see some people coming to Garinpoche, and like their behavior does not change. So it's not necessarily that we are able to change others' behavior like right away. So it also depends on level of your practice. If you are practicing Yidam yoga, if you are able to become an Yidam, like really become Yidam, if you are able to feel presence of Yidam in your mind, if you have this Yidam pride, and you act like Yidam, so then actually that actions, or like that state of mind that you are experiencing, it will start affecting other person. So sometimes we need actions, but sometimes actions do not help. So, but right state of mind, it affects the karmic patterns of other people. maybe not right away. So it's very important, like give up your own frustration and have very strong confidence that you are deity, like that you're deity. What like Traga Rinpoche once told, like when we visualize ourselves as a deity, the harmful spirits do not perceive us as a human body, like a humans, but they perceive as a deity, so they cannot harm ourselves. So you visualize yourself as deity, and you visualize that another person as a deity. So, like you're like depending on strengths of your connection to deity. Like when you visualize yourself as a deity and that another person as a deity, you actually you start cutting that person's habitual tendencies. I don't know if it relates to your question, because sometimes we speak about like actions, but actions do not help. Like no matter how good your intention is, and like no matter how much you want help, like you feel resistance from another person or from another people, and like they don't want to hear, they don't want to change. But like if that person has very strong karmic tendencies, the good way is to visualize that person as a deity. Visualize a deity above the head of that person. Visualize a deity enters the body of that person. And what's happening? Everybody's natural mind is manifesting as a deity. So when we're visualizing another person as a deity, it's not that we are creating something. We're actually helping that person to open those qualities, natural qualities of their mind. And it will start working from inside. And so there are so many different methods. Like if you yourself become deity, like you can feel that another person is deity too. As that feeling is like contagious. It starts to transform karmic patterns of other person. So that's Garinpoche says, like cultivating pure view. It's not only for ourselves. When you perceive other person as a deity, when you perceive other person as a pure, it actually triggers that process in that other person. Why do you think in presence of Garinpoche we become such good people? Like, like sometimes we come to his presence and like whatever confusion we had, it just clears away. Whatever like negative emotions we had, it clears away, because he has pure perception of you. He sees your pure quality of your mind. So if we see pure qualities in each other, we actually help each other. But in order to see those pure qualities, we also have to be able to awaken those pure qualities in ourselves. So that's like when you see yourself as a deity, you awaken those pure qualities. When you see other person as a deity, you help other person awaken those pure qualities of mind. I don't know if it answers the questions or not.
It literally just answered the one I had in my head. They said it was very helpful.
So, and like, what, sometimes somebody told me before, don't try to save the world, and we try to save the world, but we do, not literally, but like if you practice bodhisattva way, you are doing this for the sake of others, and sometimes you get frustrated when you see like no matter how pure your intention is, it's not helpful to other person has his or her own karma too. Sometimes teachers are blamed for faults of students. Like really, like I just saw the post recently somewhere in Facebook, like the student has a wrong view, and a teacher, it's faults of the teacher. And like, how can it be fault of the teacher? You know, like the main purpose of teacher is to give right instructions to the student. But whether students follows it or not, it's already a responsibility of student. And if student choose the wrong action, this is responsibility of student. You know, like, I know maybe like in Christianity we have this concept that Jesus Christ takes all sins upon himself and purifies sins of all beings, of all people. In Buddhism, yeah, we have this concept that when you have karmic connection, you kind of take negative karma of others and you help them to purify it. But still, like, other person has responsibility for their own karma. Teachers does not have responsibility for karma of student. Teacher has responsibility for giving right instructions. But whether student follows it or not, it's already a responsibility of student. You know, so in this way, like, teachers cannot be blamed, you know, for faults of students or for making wrong choice. But it's our responsibility to perceive pure qualities of mind in others, because that's really helpful to others. Yeah, and so yeah, we also, like, we train in our wisdom when we try skillful means in every situation. You know, we, like, sometimes it does not work, sometimes it works better. So we also train in wisdom. Any other questions? Okay, so then thank you so much for all your questions. If some of my instructions were not clear, please forgive me. And you can always turn to me to questions, and they're also very helpful to my own practice. Like, sometimes I hear a question and okay, this is point I have to work, I have to pay attention in my practice too. So, and actually I was thinking about creating some blog or some online, I don't even know, something where we can actually share exercises. I'm still thinking, I don't have much experience in creating websites or some courses or whatever, but I really thinking about this for past few months, and I'm looking there are few people who were wishing to help me in that. So I was thinking about topic, like what's like to make my first topic for this like online program. Maybe this would be the good topic, you know, like where everybody could participate and share their experience. So I will look how we can create it, and maybe at some point we will be able to share our experience. Yeah. It will be like support group or so. Like mind looking at the mind, depending also from what level you are talking about. If we're speaking about dualistic perception, or we're speaking about Mahamudra, like non-dualistic perception. For example, when we speak about awareness, yeah, like awareness, which is natural quality of our mind. When we speak about dualistic perception, what I was talking about, we concentrate on object, we calm down our mind, there is clarity and awareness, which is always present, but it's just covered by this chaotic movement of concepts. So when we have strong awareness, we actually take this awareness, and this awareness looks at concepts that arise in our mind. So that's also mind is looking at mind. So it's still like dualistic view. There is awareness which is aware of concepts that is present, or emotions which is present in our mind. So we understand it's the same mind, but we still have dualistic perception. This is me and this is my thought. This is me and this is my emotion. I want to get rid of this emotion. Like, so there is there is this concept, like there is perception. Emotion, something that I can get rid of. This is something that can be separated, or like, this is my thought. Like, this is me and this is my thought. So it's already a notion of like something to be separate. But this is my thought. This is my mind. It's inseparable from my mind. But perception is like something as it is separate. So in this case, when we have this dualistic view, we can use awareness, which would look at our emotion or our concept. That's also mind is looking at the mind, and this is skillful means to experience Mahamudra, because when emotion looks at concept, at thought, like it's impossible to have grasping. When there is awareness, like no matter what, there is no grasping. So this awareness which looks at emotion, because nothing is permanent, so sooner or later this emotion starts to disappear. And this awareness keep looking. And with this emotion disappear, so what is left is natural state of mind. And then we have different level of awareness. It's still like awareness is still looking at what is appearing in your mind, but there is no dual motion. There is no dual perception. There is no effort. Awareness in this state of mind is something that knows what is going on in mind. You don't think about, I have to look, I have to dissolve, I have to understand. It knows without thinking of you, without it. So mind is looking at the mind. Is awareness which looks at whatever appears in mind. It appears and dissolves whatever happened. So, and that's also mind is looking in mind.
Okay.
We're done. Thank you so much. And before we finish, I also want to thank you once more for all your support and all your help to Ukrainian Sangha, and all your prayers which go to Ukraine. And may all ignorance that is cause of this war, of the suffering, be cleared away. May there is no base exist in this world for ignorance, which leads to harm, to suffering. And I know that our prayers and our meditation, it does have effect. It helps other beings to recognize this cause and effect. And the most important, that people recognize they can distinguish between what is good, what is bad, what brings suffering, what brings happiness. And so thank you so much for all your help. And like, I know people in Ukrainian Sangha, they always speak how much American Sangha, how much White Lotus helping, how much Garchin Institute is helping, how much international Sangha and German Sangha and Chinese Sangha in the entire world is supporting us. It's so precious. It's like you cannot imagine how many people who were like really able to help. Like people who have sick kids, sick parents who were not able to leave Kyiv during like intense bombing. We have people, like we have person like whose mother is like having cancer, and like who could not leave Odessa, and who is like feeding 40 dogs and cats of people who left them behind. And like it's like because of your Sangha, because of your support, we were able to help them. And today I received a message from that person from Odessa. She says, oh, my mother has another daughter, but she's not helping. My mother is not Buddhist, but you guys help us so much my mother is so happy. It's like in the middle of war, but my mother is so happy now because we really had this support, like this emotional and financial support. She was able to buy medication. She was able to go through treatment, and we were able to save her life, I see, and she's like, I see how Dharma is working. And I can say during this war, so many people from our Sangha, they actually see how Sangha is, like real support of Sangha. And thank you so much from all of us. And we're so proud to have such Vajra sisters and brothers. And we always remember about your support.
And Zhuravka, since you're talking about that, since you're talking about that, I might just say, since we have Zoom people on here too, that we've just transferred another $28,000 to the Ukraine fund. And I want to thank everybody. It's definitely from the International Sangha, because as soon as Garchen Institute sends it out, and we've sent it out also, that recent letter, then the donations start pouring in, and so I thank you, and we're going to probably update that again in a little while. With winter coming, there's going to be a great need for warm clothes and fuel and food. And anyway, I thought people should know that we have transferred that amount just from the last letter that went out. Yeah, so thank you all very much.
And what would that total be, Gretchen? Do you know what's been transferred in total so far?
Well,
It's
I think
remarkable.
before we had transferred 65 to 68,000. I don't have it right in front of me here, but so we're close to $100,000
That's truly
total
Mm-hmm.
since the war
miraculous.
started. So it's truly, truly
Oh.
amazing.
And I want people to know, too, that White Lotus is taking no administrative cost out of this.
No.
So your donations are going just as far as
The
they
only thing that
possibly
comes
can.
out is the PayPal fee
Yeah.
and then the wire transfer fee.
Yeah.
But even the PayPal fee, many of the donors are checking the box that says, please increase my donation to cover the fees.
Yeah.
So then that doesn't that doesn't come out.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah.
Gretchen.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to all of you.
All right. So we'll conclude with the closing prayer starting on page 16 of your prayer book. But I just wanted to read these 3 sentences of Garvin Pache. Ultimate, factual bodhicitta is the basis of Buddhahood itself. However, it is not subject to cultivation through effort. Therefore, the principal point of the entire spiritual heap of the 84,000 dharmas boils down to the cultivation of conventional or fictional bodhicitta. One's mind is already the nature of emptiness. What is lacking is compassion. When one generates loving kindness and compassion, all the qualities of the Dharma will be realized from within the mind that is the inseparable union of compassion and emptiness. Okay, page 16, sorry. By the merit I have accumulated, may I overcome all erroneous attitudes and reach the omniscient state. May all sentient beings who are suffering in the waves of birth, old age, illness, and death be freed from the ocean of samsara. Whatever merit I have accumulated from prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing in the merits of others, exhorting and beseeching, I dedicate all towards the highest perfect enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Following the wisdom of Manjushri, the Fearless One, and similarly Samantabhadra, following them all and practicing in the same way, I too dedicate all merits accordingly. By the method of transferring the merits as shown by the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, all merits from these wholesome deeds I dedicate towards practicing excellent conduct. By the blessing of the Buddha who has attained the 3 perfect embodiments, by the blessing of the Dharmata, ultimate reality beyond the transitory conditioned nature of dualistic phenomena, by the blessing of the unity of the Sangha, may our prayers be fulfilled accordingly. by the truth of the three precious jewels, by the blessing of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, by the glory of the perfection of the two kinds of merit, and by the power of the Dharma Dhatu, which is perfectly pure and beyond the capacity of human thought. May this dedication prayer be fulfilled accordingly. The most glorious and precious Root Lama, seated on the lotus above my head, look upon me with your great compassion. Please grant all the siddhis of your body, speech, and mind. Of all the activities of the glorious Lama, may doubt never enter my mind for a moment, and may I be able to see the purity of all your actions. With deepest devotion I pray that your blessings enter my mind. In all my lifetimes may I not be separated from the perfect Lama. May I enjoy the glory of the teaching, and having accomplished all the bhumis of the Bodhisattva, may I quickly attain the realization of Vajradhara Dorje-chang. Vajradhara Tilopa Naropa, Marpa Milarepa, Dharma Lord Gampopa, Pagmo Drupa, and Lord Drikungpa. Please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessing, all the Kagyu Lamas. I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. May the teachings of the great Drikungpa Ratnashri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yidams, and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yogins, Yoginis, and Dakinis dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May thoughts of fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. And through that may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such, and the pervading clarity of Dharmata. May I, in any case, gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo. The power of the accumulated, the power of the merit in samsara, nirvana, in the 3 times, and by the power of the primordial merit of Buddha nature. By all this may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the perfect enlightenment state of Buddhahood. By the merit I have accumulated, may I overcome all erroneous attitudes and reach the omniscient state. May all sentient beings who are suffering in the waves of birth, old age, illness, and death be freed from the ocean of samsara. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. May the teachings of the great Drikungpa Ratnashri, who is omniscient Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Gangri Raweng Kurwe Jengam Su Pendang Dewa Malu Jungwene Chen Rei Zik Wang Tenzin Yam Sui Jame Si Te Bardu Ten Yurjik Kunjo Gundu Shakya Sangei Tenpa Zenjing Belwei Dagni Je Kunzang Jombe Drudon Trinle Juk Lundrup Jetsun Lame Jabden Sol Kunjo Grum Gin Tenpa Zenpa La Nyangi Wang Juk Jetsun Jambayang Tum Den Rin Chen Drun Me Dek Zeba Yagi Nang Wak Hagyar Jabden Zul Choksugargi Reksun Tru Jingten Gun Moduk Se Choding Pa Palden Garchen Kutse Kagyarden Yigdu Gyalten Nagdre Kabdir Tudom Dorje Nabu Tujugdi Remain and Pe Kuji Dagirje Ten Pe Magajen Namten Thu Om Mani Me Me Hung Ri 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 Gewani Nududak Chen Rezek Wang Drum Jurchik Drawajik Yang Maluma Nei Sala Gum Harshu
Chanchup Sam Chok
Rinpoche Maghe Manam Gejurchik Gemanyam Pa Me Bayam Gong Ne Gong Du Pewarshu.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
We will come. We will come.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for hosting us, for inviting us here. It's like really feels like being with family. I spoke this morning with Yarek, and it's like feeling like being at home. And always when we speak about Rochester Sangha, you know, like it's like, oh, Rochester Sangha is like this, like a butter on your hearts. You know, it's like a melting, yeah. Thank you so much for being here, for your practice. Like, they are very mature Sangha, and like it's a big support to us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Zhuravka. Okay.
Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you, and best practice to you. Thank you for your question. So do I have to leave the room before you start moving? Okay, I'll just leave and then come back. Okay?
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really? Yes. Thanks. I have to review some review.
Thank you, Zhuravka. Really wonderful. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. We prayed for our lunch yesterday. So really good.
Well, you guys need a little help. You guys touring around, it's a lot of hard work. So.
Oh gosh, people, you are incredible.
Thank you.